Hey, and welcome to The Working Gal. Our mission, to inspire all the working gals around the world and motivate them to build the professional and personal life they want. Hey everyone, welcome back to The Working Gal. So, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I don't know if you guys feel this way too, but sometimes I catch myself at the end of the week and I'm like, wait, what even happened? Like, where did my week go? And it's not that I wasn't busy, right? I was so busy. I was answering emails, I was in meetings, I was checking things off my to do list, but it's like I wasn't actually there for any of it. I was just going through the motions, autopilot mode. And that feeling, that life is passing me by feeling, it's been coming up so much in conversations with friends, with you guys in the comments, and honestly with myself at like 11 p.m. on a Tuesday when I'm finally sitting down and realizing I haven't actually thought about anything all day. I've just been reacting. So today we're talking about intentional living. And I know that phrase gets thrown around a lot on Instagram with like beautiful linen dresses and morning coffee and ceramic mugs. And sure, that can be part of it, but that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about the real stuff, the messy stuff, the how do I actually do this while working full time and having a life stuff. So grab your coffee or your tea or whatever you're drinking and let's get into it. Okay, so first things first, what does intentional living even mean? Because I feel like it's one of those buzzwords that sounds really nice, but also kind of vague. Here's how I think about it, and this might resonate with you, or maybe you'll have a totally different take. But to me, intentional living is basically the opposite of autopilot. It's about making conscious choices instead of just defaulting to whatever's easiest or whatever everyone else is doing or whatever you've always done. Like, okay, here's an example from my own life. A few months ago, I realized I was saying yes to so many things: happy hours after work, brunches on the weekend, coffee dates, networking events. And don't get me wrong, I love people, I love socializing, but I was saying yes to everything without even asking myself, do I actually want to do this? I was just on autopilot. Someone asks, I say yes, that's the default. And then I'd find myself at these events feeling exhausted and resentful and like, why am I even here? And that's when I realized I wasn't living intentionally, I was just living reactively. So, intentional living at its core is about pausing. It's about creating space between stimulus and response. Oh my God, that sounds so corporate. Sorry. What I mean is, it's about not just automatically doing things, it's about checking in with yourself first. And here's the thing: this isn't about being selfish or saying no to everything or becoming some hermit who never leaves the house. It's about alignment. It's about making sure that what you're doing actually matches what you care about, your values, your energy, your life. Because here's what I've learned, and this might be controversial, I don't know. But you can be incredibly busy and incredibly successful and still feel empty if you're not living according to your values, if you're just doing what you think you're supposed to do. So let's talk about what happens when we don't live intentionally, when we just stay on autopilot, because I think sometimes we don't realize how much it's actually costing us. First of all, burnout. And I'm not just talking about work burnout, although that's part of it. I'm talking about life burnout. That feeling of I'm so tired and I don't even know why, because you've been doing things you don't actually care about for so long that you're just depleted. I remember maybe 2 years ago, I was working this job that was fine. Good salary, nice benefits. My parents were proud, but I was miserable. And the worst part was I couldn't even figure out why I was miserable because on paper everything looked great, but I was living someone else's version of success. I was on autopilot, following a script that wasn't even mine. And the second thing that happens when you live on autopilot is disconnection. You become disconnected from yourself, from the people you love, from what actually matters to you. You're so busy doing things that you forget to actually feel things, to be present, to notice what's happening in your life. Like, have you ever gotten to the end of the day and realized you barely spoke to your partner, or you can't remember what you ate for lunch, or you missed a beautiful sunset because you were staring at your phone? That's disconnection. That's what autopilot does. And then there's regret, and I don't want to get too heavy here, but when you're living on autopilot, you're basically letting life happen to you instead of making life happen for you. And that's a recipe for looking back one day and thinking, wait, is this really how I spent my time? Is this what I chose? And the thing is, you can't get time back. You can't get this Tuesday back. You can't get this October back. So the cost of autopilot is actually pretty high when you think about it. So, how do we actually start living more intentionally? Because this all sounds great in theory, but like, how do you do it? For me, the biggest game changer has been morning intention setting, and I'm going to walk you through exactly how I do this. It takes literally 5 minutes, maybe less if you're in a rush. So, first thing in the morning, and okay, I know some of you are going to be like, I barely have time to brush my teeth in the morning, and I get it, I really do, but this is 5 minutes. You can do this while your coffee is brewing, or before you get out of bed, or on your commute, wherever works for you. Here's what I do. I take a few deep breaths, like actually deep, not those shallow stress breaths we do all day, and I ask myself 3 questions. Question 1: how do I want to feel today? Not what do I want to accomplish, but how do I want to feel? Do I want to feel calm, energized, focused, connected, creative? Whatever it is, I name it. And just naming it is powerful because then throughout the day, I can check in and ask myself, am I honoring this intention? Question 2: what's my priority today? Not my to do list, which probably has like 47 things on it, but my one priority. The thing that if I got nothing else done, I'd still feel good about my day. Maybe it's difficult conversation I need to have. Maybe it's finishing a project. Maybe it's just resting because I'm exhausted. Whatever it is, I name it. And question 3: what can I let go of today? This one's huge because we all carry so much unnecessary stuff: worries, expectations, shoulds, guilt. And asking yourself what you can release just creates space. It's like, I don't need to stress about that email. I can let go of that argument from yesterday. I can release the expectation that everything needs to be perfect. That's it. 3 questions, 5 minutes, but it completely changes how I move through my day. Because instead of just reacting to whatever comes at me, I have this internal compass. I have intention. Some days I forget to do this, by the way. Some days I wake up late and I'm scrambling and I skip it. And you know what? Those are the days that feel the most chaotic, the most autopilot y. So it's kind of become non negotiable for me now. Okay, so here's the thing about living intentionally. You can't do it if you don't know what you actually value. Like, if you don't know what matters to you, how are you supposed to align your life with it? This might sound a little woo woo, but stay with me. You need to get clear on your values. And I'm not talking about the values you think you should have or the values that sound impressive. I'm talking about your values, the things that actually matter to you. For me, and this took me a while to figure out, my core values are creativity, freedom, and connection. Those are my top 3. And when my life reflects those values, I feel good. When it doesn't, I feel off. So, for example, creativity, I need to be making things, writing, creating content, solving problems in new ways. If I'm doing repetitive, mindless work all day, I'm not honoring that value and I feel dead inside. Freedom, I need flexibility in my schedule. I need to feel like I have choices, connection. I need deep, meaningful relationships, not just surface level small talk. And here's where boundaries come in because once you know your values, you can start setting boundaries that protect them. Like, okay, I value freedom, right? So, a few months ago, when I was offered this project that would have required me to be available 24/7, I said no. Old me would have said yes because it seemed like a good opportunity and I didn't want to disappoint anyone. But new me, intentional me, I checked in with my values and realized this opportunity was actually in direct conflict with what matters to me. And saying no felt scary. It felt like I was closing a door. But you know what? Saying yes would have felt worse because I would have been betraying my own values. Boundaries aren't mean. Boundaries aren't selfish. Boundaries are how you honor what matters to you. They're how you protect your intentional life from all the noise and expectations and shoulds that are constantly trying to pull you off course. And I think as women, especially, we're taught that boundaries are rude, that saying no is disappointing people, that we should be accommodating and flexible and available all the time. But that's a recipe for resentment. That's a recipe for autopilot. So ask yourself, what boundaries do I need to set to honor my values? Maybe it's no work emails after 7 p.m. Maybe it's saying no to social events that drain you. Maybe it's protecting your mornings for yourself instead of immediately checking your phone. Whatever it is, boundaries are how you turn intention into action. All right, so we've talked about morning intention setting, we've talked about values and boundaries. Now let's talk about reflection because you can't course correct if you don't check in with yourself regularly. I do a weekly reflection ritual every Sunday evening. It's like my non negotiable me time. I light a candle, I make some tea, I put my phone in another room, and I just sit with my journal. And here are the questions I ask myself, and you can totally steal these if you want. 1. What brought me joy this week? And I write down everything, even small things. Maybe it was a really good coffee. Maybe it was a conversation with a friend. Maybe it was finally finishing that project. Whatever it was, I write it down because it helps me notice what's actually making me happy. 2. What drained me this week? What meetings felt like a waste of time? What conversations left me feeling exhausted? What commitments did I regret saying yes to? This helps me identify what I need to boundary up or say no to in the future. 3. Did I live according to my values this week? This is a big one. Did I make time for creativity? Did I protect my freedom? Did I nurture my relationships? Or did I let other things take priority? And 4, what do I want to do differently next week? This isn't about beating myself up for what I didn't do. It's about conscious course correction. It's about small adjustments. And honestly, this practice has changed my life because it keeps me accountable to myself. It keeps me from drifting back into autopilot. It's like a weekly check in with my own life. Some weeks I don't do it, and those are the weeks where I feel most lost, most reactive. So even if it's just 10 minutes on Sunday night, I really encourage you to build in some reflection time because you can't live intentionally if you never pause to check in. Now let's talk about decision making because once you start trying to live more intentionally, you're going to face a lot of decisions. Big ones, small ones, everything in between. And you need a framework for making them. Here's mine, and it's so simple, but it's so powerful. I call it the hell yes or no framework. And I totally stole this from somewhere. I can't remember where. But basically, if something isn't a hell yes, it's a no. And I know that sounds extreme, but hear me out. How many times have you said yes to something that was like, maybe, I guess, sure, okay? And how did that turn out? Probably not great, right? So now, when someone invites me to something or offers me an opportunity or asks me to take something on, I check in with my gut. Is this a hell yes? Does this excite me? Does this align with my values? Does this feel good in my body? And if the answer is anything less than yes, it's a no, or at least it's a let me think about it, which usually becomes a no once I actually think about it. The reality is we have limited time and limited energy, and every yes to something is a no to something else. So when you say yes to that networking event you don't really want to go to, you're saying no to an evening at home reading or cooking or resting or doing whatever actually fills your cup. And I'm not saying you should never do things you don't want to do. Sometimes you have to do hard things or boring things or things that don't immediately feel good. But there's a difference between this is hard, but it aligns with my values, and this is hard, and I'm only doing it because I feel obligated. So the decision making framework is pause, check in with yourself, ask if it's a hell yes, and if it's not, give yourself permission to say no, or to say not right now, or to negotiate something that works better for you. And this takes practice, by the way. I'm still learning to trust my gut instead of overthinking everything. But the more you practice intentional decision making, the easier it gets, and the more aligned your life becomes. I believe we've covered a lot today. We talked about what intentional living actually means, the cost of staying on autopilot, morning intention setting and values and boundaries, weekly reflection, and decision making. And I just want to say, this isn't about being perfect. This isn't about never messing up or never having days where you're totally on autopilot. I still have those days. We all do. But the difference is when you start living more intentionally, those autopilot days become the exception instead of the rule. And when they happen, you notice, you course correct, you come back to yourself. Because what's important to realize is that your life is happening right now, not when you get the promotion, not when you meet the person, not when you finally have time. It's happening right now, today, this Tuesday in October, and you get to decide how you want to show up for it. So, if you're feeling like life is passing you by, if you're feeling disconnected or burnt out, or like you're just going through the motions, I want you to know that you can change that. You can start living more intentionally. It's not about a complete life overhaul, it's about small shifts, daily practices, conscious choices. And if you want help with this, I have some resources you can read and watch about intentional living, all that good stuff. Links are in the description below. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you next week. And until then, live intentionally, okay? You deserve a life that actually feels like yours. Bye.